Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. The search for that Titanic tourist sub that disappeared over the weekend in the North Atlantic is no longer a rescue mission. Officials said it is likely out of oxygen, and it still hasn't been found. We have the live updates. California Congressman Adam Schiff was censured by House Republicans for spewing falsehoods in a Trump impeachment case. Even though censure is super rare and really bad, Schiff and his fans cheered it as his badge of honor. A catfight between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert broke out in the House over who is toughest in their call to impeach President Biden. Greene has led the calls, but her rival is elbowing her way into the headlines. And Fox's Bret Baier might be in for a tidy pay raise for his tough interview of Donald Trump. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Folks, welcome to Stinchfield. One of the most important stories of our time is being ignored by the mainstream media. That is, where was COVID-19, the China virus, released from? Did it come from the lab? Did it come from the wet market? You and I all know the truth here. We know that it came from the lab. We had predicted that it came from the lab long time ago. Now there is convincing evidence that we revealed on this program just last night that patient zero was in that lab. Patient zero, Ben Hu, was a subcontractor working for EcoHealth Alliance that was taking in almost $41 million, according to the White Coat Waste Project, from the American government. This patient zero, Ben Hu, comes down with this bizarre disease while working in the lab in 2019. That alone tells me the United States government knew exactly where this virus originated from and exactly how it originated. And it originated through gain-of-function research. And I say this with certainty. Now, the mainstream media is ignoring this story, that the White Coat Waste Project, a nonpartisan, nonprofit, through Freedom of Information, revealed patient zero comes from the lab and all of the money going to EcoHealth Alliance from U.S. taxpayers through NIH to EcoHealth Alliance to the Wuhan lab. This is from a recent article on The Blaze about what they found. And it says, quote, the subcontractor listed as an investigator on the grants was Ben Hu, whom The Blaze previously noted was the WIV's lead on gain-of-function research on SARS-like coronaviruses, and among the patients zero, having been one of 3 lab researchers first infected with COVID-19 in November of 2019. Well, you know that all hell broke loose in America in March of 2020. This is more proof to me that the government cannot be trusted. Our government, a government that is supposed to be by and for the people, can no longer be trusted by the people. We know the media cannot be trusted, and sadly, many of our elected leaders cannot be trusted. Well, I think this is such an important story, and I'm looking now and I'm watching the mainstream media completely ignore this story, that China, working with the United States, would somehow release a virus on the world, and they ignore it. We refuse to. This is a member of the White Coat Waste Project on this program last night, spelling out how this all went down.
First, we linked the NIH to the Wuhan Institute of Virology in April of 2020 through FOIA. We then exposed how the NIH and EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan lab conspired to violate the federal ban on gain-of-function. And now, most recently, we have uncovered documents through a FOIA lawsuit proving that patient zero, who the Wall Street Journal and others confirmed was a Wuhan Institute of Virology animal experimenter, was a guy named Ben Hu, who was directly receiving funding from Fauci's division at the NIH, as well as the U.S. State Department.
How does the mainstream media not cover this story? That America had a hand in this. And not only did we have a hand in it, but we knew who patient zero was going all the way back to 2019. Of course we did. And they refused to acknowledge that we did. Patient zero is everything. This Ben Hu was working with these mice and other animals for coronaviruses and bats and all of these things, comes down with the virus. It's key to determining where the virus originated. And yet everybody would like to just forget it. Not us. Goodman continued.
Fake news wet market theory that Fauci's been pushing since early 2020, despite funding gain of function and knowing what happened there, is all based on the idea that this virus popped up in December 2019. But these sick Wuhan animal lab workers prove that the virus was around in November 2019, and these are the first people where there's evidence that they actually may have had it. So I would say that these documents we have tying Ben Hu to Fauci's gain of function experiments, if he proves to be patient zero, are the smoking gun.
Folks, we're the only network covering this. Make note of this. Where is the rest of the mainstream media on what could be one of the biggest stories of our time? And I'll tell you why it's one of the biggest stories of our time. Because I believe the man that I have such great respect for, the man that I want to march back into the White House, President Donald J. Trump, I believe he was duped by people like Dr. Fauci and Deborah Birx and the others. I believe he was duped when he pushed this vaccine on all of us, and he was duped by Dr. Fauci, who would make wild claims that were absolutely false. We now know that, like this claim.
We have not funded gain-of-function research on this virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, no matter how many times
you're parsing
you say
words.
it.
There
it
was
didn't
research.
happen.
There was research done with Dr. Shi and Dr. Barrick. They have collaborated on gain-of-function research where they enhanced the SARS virus to infect human airway cells, and they did it by merging a new spike protein on it. That is gain-of-function. That was joint research between the Wuhan Institute and Dr. Barrick. You can't deny it.
Here's the reality. Rand Paul and a few others are the only ones legitimately asking for answers, researching this, digging in, because the mainstream media is not doing it. It's going to take organizations like the White Coat Waste Project to uncover things like this, like Judicial Watch. Heck, like this program, taking what they find and then sending it out to the masses. We ought to be steaming mad. China is an enemy of the United States. What in the world are we doing, not only working with China, but sending money over there and then covering for them? Well, that gets back, of course, to Joe Biden and him being on the take for China. Rand Paul, again, I'm going to go back in time because what he had to say back then is so important. Watch.
What we know is from the very first days of the pandemic in January of 2020 that Anthony Fauci orchestrated an elaborate cover-up. He knew there was a problem. At 3 a.m, he was emailing somebody on January 31st, and that person was head of the committee that was supposed to review dangerous research, the P3CO committee, the potential pandemic pathogens. It was supposed to look at this dangerous research, but Fauci allowed it to go around that. So he knew from the very beginning, not only was he funding the Wuhan research, but he was going around the regulatory apparatus to let it happen, even though the rules said it shouldn't have happened, without more scrutiny. So he knew this from the beginning.
We talk a lot about the deep state, and all you have to do is follow the money. What happened after this virus was released on the world? Of course, they used it to weaponize the election system in America and take Donald Trump out. Of course, they used it for Big Pharma to profit and line their pockets over and over and over again. All the while, the deep state laughing at the American public while people are dying, not just from the virus, but from the vaccine as well, that literally they're profiting off of over and over again. So now Joe Biden who I guess you could call it he heads the deep state. Whoever's pulling the strings of Joe Biden is really the head of the deep state. But now he's got a problem on his hands because now you got RFK Jr., who, a warning to all my conservative friends, is no conservative, okay? He's not one you want to vote for president. Because he's anti-vax and free speech doesn't make him a conservative. But he does have common sense when it comes to this kind of stuff. This is RFK Jr., and he certainly poses a problem to Joe Biden.
The actual scientist who got ill, who they're now saying is patient one, is Ben Hu, who was the underling for the bat lady for Xi Jinping. And his funding and her funding came directly from NIH, and NIH taught them the technology, this technology called the seamless ligation technique, which is just a bioweapons technique for concealing human tampering on engineered viruses.
See, but the mainstream media will shut him down. They blew up my YouTube channel. I talk about this on YouTube and literally blasted. My YouTube TV got blown up. Like nothing from the folks over there. So this is what they do to silence voices about the truth. But the truth in the end will always win. And now all of this is connected. And this is why I want to make this very, very clear. The Democrats use these things to weaponize them against conservatives. We know that they have the government in the tank with the deep state. We know they have the judicial system in the tank for Democrats. And of course, we know that they have the media in the tank. Hence now charges against Hunter Biden. President Trump called it, Kash Patel called it, we called it on this program, that this slap on the wrist for Hunter Biden and his charges with this IRS investigation and the gun charges is literally to divert attention and show, oh yeah, we'll go after Hunter Biden while we go and persecute President Trump for a nothing boxes hoax. All of it stinks. Well, today, IRS whistleblowers came forward in a closed-door session to blow the whistle on Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, and of course, the director of the IRS. This is Representative Smith, a Republican, talking about these IRS whistleblowers and how important they are to figuring out what's going on inside the government and the weaponization of it against us.
Whistleblowers say reoccurring unjustified delays pervaded the investigation, including authenticating a WhatsApp message in which Hunter Biden demands payment from Chinese officials, noting that his father is in the room.
And now we know from these whistleblowers that the Attorney General, the director of the IRS, lied to Congress when he said it wasn't special treatment, when there wasn't all kinds of things going on to make sure that he got a favorable outcome in this case. So what do we do about all of this? Well, I want to bring in now Republican Congressman from South Carolina. Our friend Ralph Norman is here. Congressman Norman, it's great to have you on the program.
Great to be with you, Grant. Thank you.
I can't help but notice all of this is connected, isn't it? All of the cover-ups that make people so frustrated. What do we do about it, Congressman?
Well, Grant, not only is connected, it just shows you how this administration under Joe Biden has basically sold out to China. And think about this. You've got an IRS agency. You've got the FBI, which used to set the gold standard for law enforcement, colluding to hide information dating back on Hunter Biden to 2014 to let the statute of limitations run out. You've got the IRS and you've got the FBI covering up information like they have done with the papers that were supposed to be secure. They're charging Donald Trump, yet look at all the evidence they have against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Think about the IRS whistleblowers. They have nothing to gain out of this. They've got an administration that's weaponized every department of the judicial system. So the first thing you do is get it out. And you're right, the mainstream media has been complicit. They have hidden this information. They have no curiosity when it comes to exposing it and are not going to expose it. But it's now getting out through the hearings that we've had. And the first step is to get it all out, and then let's try to have some consequences. The American people are tired of a two-tiered system that's weighted against the Republicans and is all in favor, all in bed with the Biden administration, which is probably the most corrupt administration, if everything proves out, in the history of this country.
All right, let me play another clip from Representative Jason Smith talking about the whistleblower and the difference here. And this is stunning when you think about the raid on Mar-a-Lago and then how they handle Hunter Biden. Roll clip 19.
Even an investigators had probable cause to search a Northern Virginia storage unit in which Hunter Biden had stored files. Attorneys for Biden were made aware prior to any search, providing them valuable time to remove any materials that could be useful evidence. Few Americans qualify for such soft glove treatment from federal investigators.
Congressman Norman, you're a strong conservative. I promise you, if you even breathe wrong on your tax form, they're going to be coming after you. I'd probably throw me into the same boat on this stuff. I was just talking to my accountant at tax time. He says, man, you better be T's crossed and I's dotted, because they will come after you for what you do. This is astonishing, and I don't even think they care about the perception anymore. It's like they spit in our faces over this stuff.
Well, they're drunk on power, Grant. They're drunk on power. And you got career politicians like Joe Biden, who's basically a freeloader. He's lived off the backs of the taxpayers, and now he is living off the backs of China, which is funding him. Where is the media when it comes to questioning where the $1.5 million that Hunter Biden was, that they know he got in 2017? Where is the media on finding out where that came from? But to hide it for as long as they have, to continually cover it up, it's got to be a house cleaning. America has lost confidence in a judicial system that is trying to hire, or an administration is trying to hire 87,000 IRS agents to harass the American people. The Americans don't deserve this, and it's going to take a new administration to cleanse it. But at what we can do now is just what we're doing. What Jason Smith is doing and Jim Jordan is doing, holding hearings, and the evidence is slowly leaking out, because at the end of the day, the truth comes out, and it's not favorable to an administration that is this corrupt.
No, nothing coming out has been favorable. I'm curious, Congressman, where do you stand on the idea of impeachment of Joe Biden? So there's a lot of debate over this. I'll tell you where I stand. I want to hear these tapes, and if it comes out that Joe Biden is on tape spelling out a bribery scheme, I think we have no choice but to move forward with impeachment. That is such a serious crime. I think there's about 22 other ways we could impeach him right now for his handling of the border and all kinds of other things. But on that, I'm not sure it does us any good. It never gets through the Senate. It may end up being a waste of time. But on these tapes, I don't know how you don't impeach him. There's a push right now to maybe move this through quickly. Where do you stand on the idea of impeachment?
It's the right thing to do at the right time. What we voted on yesterday and today was to move it to the House Administration Committee and the Judicial, let it go through the process, through the committees, where you are able to uncover the tapes that you're talking about, whether you're able to read the 52 suspicious activity reports on Hunter Biden that banks don't just give out willy-nilly. It's a serious charge. But everything I'm hearing so far will come out, and impeachment is the right move. Now, you know, the big question I have always gotten, and I had to, quite frankly, ask it myself, look who you get as the commander-in-chief in Kamala Harris, who is a complete buffoon and is somebody that is incompetent to serve. But I don't know that you can get worse than Joe Biden. The impeachment, I support the process, and I think America is going to be shocked. They should have known this long before now, but they were in bed with the media, and they're just not going to cover it.
That's absolutely right. In many respects, I think whether it's Kamala Harris or it's anybody else, they're not calling the shots anyway. You got the George Soroses and the Barack Obamas and maybe even the Clintons of the world that are actually calling the shots. Lastly, these tapes, these alleged tapes that have Joe Biden and Hunter Biden on them. Do you have any information on them, Congressman? I had gotten word that Republican senators had the tapes. Now it looks like they may not have the tapes. Have you heard anything on that?
I've heard the same thing. I mean, tapes either exist or they don't. And you've got to just go through the process of subpoena and putting people under oath to find the tapes. The laptop came out, which is a good thing. Even though it's late, the dollars that the Hunter Biden received and the big guy has come out. The fact that Joe Biden attended a meeting with Hunter Biden and the Chinese, which was verified by a friend of the family. He was there just for a minute, just to, I guess, show his clout. But I think it'll come out. It may take some time, but everything is it's like pulling every string to try to get the truth out. Yeah. And, it's what's going to have to be done. But the truth will eventually come out, and I think hopefully there'll be consequences with it.
I believe that to be true. Congressman Ralph Norman, it's always great to see you. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and it's my pleasure having you on. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, absolutely. All right, folks, a Republican is actually leading the race for the California Senate, okay? For the United States Senate, a Republican is leading that race. And guess what happens? Tonight, there's a debate going on in California, and that GOP candidate wasn't invited. He's number one in the polls. How does this happen? We will have that Republican Senate candidate. Eric Early is with us next. Stick around.
Thursday, inside Inside California Politics takes an in-depth look at the race to replace Senator Dianne Feinstein. Nikki Lorenzo and Frank Buckley traveled up and down California to sit down with the current leading frontrunners for that race. Hear from Congress members Katie Porter, Barbara Lee, and Adam Schiff, who discuss some of the most pressing issues facing our state.
You know, I'm just going to say this as a guy who worked in mainstream media. What devious mother scratchers these people are, okay? Literally. That's KTLA in Los Angeles, traveled up and down. The story's going to air on all the stations across California that are affiliated with their network. They didn't interview the Republican candidate who's leading, by the way, the race for Senate in California. His name is Eric Early. I want you to look at this poll from UC Berkeley, of all places. This is no conservative-leaning poll, UC Berkeley. Here it is, Early, 18%. Porter, 17%. Schiff Bag, 14%. And Barbara Lee at 9%. Adam Schiff. So they're going to interview this clown and not interview the guy who's leading in the polls? They want to just ignore it. This is what I'm talking about. How they are so brazen, the left is, the media is, the deep state is, that they don't even care that the perception of bias, they don't even care about it. I perceive it as bias. You know why? Because it is. Let me just let you hear a little bit of Adam Schiff. This is a guy who's not even equal to Eric Early in those polls, and they're going to interview him. Listen to his lies.
So you have seen direct evidence of collusion?
I don't want to go into specifics, but I will say that there is evidence that is not circumstantial.
You can see evidence in plain sight on the issue of collusion. It is, I think, of a size and scope probably beyond Watergate.
Have you seen, do you have direct evidence of collusion with Russia?
Over and over again, he lies. Well, the United States Congress censored him for those lies. Yet he gets interviewed. I'll tell you what, honestly, it makes me sick to my stomach what's going on in California. I'm not sure a Republican can ever win a statewide race there. And that's a sorry, sad thing to say as I bring in the Republican candidate for Senate in California, the guy who was left out of this special that will air tonight on KTLA. Eric Early is with us. Eric, welcome to the program.
Grant, it is great being with you, my friend.
What is it like to run in a state where you are up against forces that I'm not sure are beatable?
Listen, I believe in three words that everybody showed on those clips don't believe in, which is we the people. And, I've been campaigning up and down this state for a long time, talking to people all over the state. I ran for Attorney General in the last race, lots of people. And we have millions of people in this state who are done with this far left power structure in the state. You'll never hear about it, just like you won't hear about me on that show that they're broadcasting today, because the people in control of the vast majority of the media want to make believe that we don't exist, but we exist. So, Grant, I think anything is possible come primary day, March 5th. And that's why we got that poll, and it was great to see. But frankly, I wasn't shocked, because I talked to the people, and those pinheads, frankly, that are doing that show today really have no clue what's going on out there.
No, and I want to let everybody out there know, so they know how California's primary system works. It would be one thing if this was a Democrat primary and they were interviewing Democrat candidates and then go and do the Republican primary. That's not how California works. California is a jungle primary. The top two vote getters go into the general election. It could be two Democrats, it could be two Republicans. That won't happen in California. Or it could be a Republican and a Democrat, which is what I hope happens with you, Eric Early. So you should have been on this show tonight. What was your response when you see the UC Berkeley poll? You're clearly in the lead, and they don't even call you.
Well, let me tell you something. There are a lot of people who are very unhappy, let's just say that, all over the state. I have the great support of all the grassroots in our great state, and this word has been getting out about this show, and we've been hearing about it from all over the place. People are incredibly angry. The guy who leads that show, his name is Frank Buckley. You could just imagine what he's probably thinking. They will do whatever they can to keep our voices muted. Grant, you know the way they roll. They either tell complete falsehoods, or they tell half-truths, or they don't say anything. And right now, this is a perfect example of how they're not saying anything. But you know, that guy Frank Buckley, out of his mind. But I'll tell you something, Grant, the day is going to come when I'm going to be there debating those three that they put up there, that pathological psycho named Schiff, the progressive Katie Porter, and in English the word progressive means communist, and then the other one, Barbara Lee, who, if she doesn't have pictures of Fidel Castro and Karl Marx all over her living room, I'd be shocked, frankly. One day I'm going to debate them, and it won't be a good day for them. But yes, to see that show go forward today without me, it's you know, it's par for the course in California.
Yeah. It's a despicable showing on a mainstream media that is supposed to be unbiased, and clearly they showed their bias tonight, and I don't think they cared that they showed their bias, which is maybe what's even more upsetting about all of this. I would urge every other Republican in California. Eric Early, I like you. I've talked to you. I've gotten to know you over the years. You know, I do radio in Los Angeles, Morning Drive. I don't want any other Republicans jumping in this race, because they're going to take votes away, even if we've got to get you in the top two. And so I hope that other Republicans in California can see the big picture and say, hey, don't water down this race. Let's get one Republican in the top two and give ourselves a shot.
Absolutely, Grant. And, you know, when I got in the race, we talked to all the, you know, what you would call usual suspects in the Republican Party. You're going to run for this. You're going to run for this. No. Impossible. Not going to do it. We jumped in. We got that great poll. And within a couple of days of that great poll, suddenly these brave insiders within the party started talking about putting somebody else in. I'm using the word brave sort of facetiously, but you know, there's a divide in California, unfortunately, within our party, and I'm very thankful that the vast majority of the passionate conservative Republicans, the grassroots of California, support me. And I'll tell you something else with respect to that fellow who's doing that interview show today. When we heard about the show happening, people on my team reached out to that station, and they were told, well, sorry, it's all been shot, it's all been recorded, and it's already been edited. So by the time we finally got word that they were going to do that show without us, it was already too late, according to them, to get me involved. It's always something.
You know, I was in mainstream media for a long time. There is an issue of fairness, and I believe the FCC might have a say in all of this as well. I would file a complaint with both the FEC and the FCC on this, because I think the TV station violated your rights in this election by not giving you a platform, and you may well think about filing a complaint with the Federal Communications Commission.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. And Grant, I'll tell you something. Grant, for all you folks watching, Grant does a great show out here every weekday morning with my great friend Jen Warren, and Grant's got a great show out here, you know, down in Southern California. They're telling us, supposedly, Grant, that they're going to put me on sometime in the near future, and that'll be good, but I would have loved to have gone head-to-head with the three of those other ones.
Yeah. Well, the time will come. Eric Early, I appreciate you sharing time with us. I know you got a fundraiser. Money is very important in these campaigns. Go raise some money and go take the fight to those Democrats in California.
All right, brother. Thank you. And folks could use your support. EricEarly.com. I'm here in Bakersfield, California right now on the campaign trail, going out there to meet some great Americans. Thanks a lot, Grant. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. You got it. You know what's amazing, folks? I tell candidates all the time, you know how many candidates forget to ask for your support, basically forget to ask for money, and forget to ask for your vote? I'm glad Eric Early did both there. Show him some support, especially if you're out in California. All right, folks, the Coast Guard found the remains, now it looks like, of the Ocean Gate submarine earlier today. We'll have more on that tragic situation for you and get into why some people are trying to make this whole thing political. Everybody wants to make a villain out of somebody. We'll talk about that when we come back.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber.
Well, folks, this, of course, is not the outcome that we were all praying for. The 5 members aboard the Titan that went down to see the Titanic on this, what was supposed to be a 10, 12-hour journey, turned out to be a 6-day search that ended up with a debris field and part of that submersible on the floor. We can only imagine it must have imploded. So now everybody wants to make a victim out of somebody, and I want to get into this, and I want to be very careful about this because this was an exploration, okay? Explorations are dangerous. So before we go blaming everybody, let's figure out what happened first. And the real reality is we may never know, but there are some predictions about what happened. This is undersea expert Paul Hankin.
5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan. The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event.
Now remember, the last communications was about an hour and 45 minutes into what should have been a 2-hour trip to the bottom, 13,000 feet to the Titanic. Apparently, due to the communications, they could tell this vessel was sinking too fast. Here's a retired U.S. Navy submariner.
Just before they lost comms, that they reported they were trying to release ballast. What that means to me is they were heavy. They were descending faster than they were supposed to. So they were trying to get rid of weight. That's ballast. They were trying to get rid of weight. What could have caused that? Again, maybe there was a computer glitch and their thrusters got stuck in down, or they suffered an incursion into the hulls.
All right, at this point, it's speculation, but you listen to the experts and you take it all in. What many of us love to do is make a villain out of somebody. We've got to blame somebody for all of this. So you've seen the media reports now. Oh, it was an Xbox controller that was steering this ship. Well, we had a Navy submarine commander on the program who wasn't really all that concerned about that. He says you put things together as you put it together, as long as the hull would hold firm. It doesn't matter what you control it with, Xbox controller or not. Then there's this idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the CEO of the company that was on this expedition, he was in the submarine as well, was on tape talking about why he wanted to hire young people. A lot of my fellow conservatives has jumped on board of this, saying DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, got everybody killed. Listen to the CEO.
When I started the business, one of the things you'll find, there are other sub-operators out there, but they typically have gentlemen who are ex-military submariners, and you'll see a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational, and I'm not going to inspire a 16-year-old to go pursue marine technology. But a 25-year-old, who's a sub-pilot or a platform operator, or one of our techs, can be inspirational. And so we've really tried to get very intelligent, motivated, younger individuals involved.
So in the quest to find a villain, many of my conservative friends says, well, that means he hired young people without any experience. He just wanted young people. Safety be damned. I don't actually believe that's true. When I ran for Congress, I said I want young people working on my campaign. I want young people involved. Now, there's not life and death situations running for Congress or running a campaign, but I don't think there's anything wrong about trying to get young people involved in a business or organization. And you just have to look at who was on board. The pilot was a 70-year-old white dude, French, very experienced undersea explorer. The CEO was on board, a 50-year-old white guy. And then, of course, there were the 3 paying passengers, again, 2 50-something-year-old people, and, of course, that 19-year-old boy, so sad. But it wasn't filled with members of the classes that you would think is DEI, so be careful about that. Diving down to 13,000 feet, folks, is dangerous. Climbing Mount Everest is dangerous. Sometimes people die. That's the business. On this waiver that Paul Stockton, the CEO, I believe that's his name, Stockton, the CEO, had, 4 times it was mentioned death is a real possibility. And for those of you that want to think he was some crazy liberal that was into diversity, equity, and inclusion, you had the left-wing newspapers coming out and basically accusing him of being a right-wing extremist by donating to Republican causes. Check this out. This says basically that OceanGate CEO, missing in Titanic sub, had a history of donating to GOP candidates. That from the New Republic. So he had a history of donating to Republicans, yet he wanted young people. I don't think this guy was any kind of a radical. I don't necessarily think he was out of line when it came to safety. I think something went wrong at 10,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. He basically said he broke some rules along the way. This soundbite has been played over and over again. Check this out, cut 5.
I'd like to be remembered as an innovator. I think it was General MacArthur said, "You're remembered for the rules you break." And, I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me. The carbon fiber and titanium, there's a rule you don't do that. Well, I did.
So they want to vilify him for that. But I would ask my fellow conservatives, what would you rather have? Would you rather have government coming in and approving everything he does? Or do you have adults who put together a submarine and decide, as adults do, we want to go down to 13,000 feet. Why would the government have any role in telling you, no, you can't do that, or no, that's not safe? Nobody else is involved. Milton Friedman once said, the great free marketeer, said the only time you need regulation is if 2 or more people are involved in the deal and 1 or more of those people don't get a say. Well, every single one of those individuals on this submarine got a say in the deal of whether they wanted to go down to see the Titanic at 13,000 feet. It didn't go well. My heart aches for them. I pray for their families that they get some sense of peace, that the people in that submarine died doing what they wanted to do. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. It's life. Let's not always look for the villain. All right, Adam Schiff has finally been censored by Republicans, and the Democrats reacted about as insanely as you would expect. I will show you that next. I'm here to tell you there is a new day in the United States Congress. There was a time where a freshman congresswoman would never be able to get anything done in the United States Congress. But now, thanks to the rise of the Freedom Caucus, thanks to the rise of all of you demanding accountability from Republican lawmakers, someone like Anna Paulina Luna, a friend of mine from Florida, can get one of the most powerful members of Congress censored. I'm talking about Adam Schiff, of course, the Russian collusion hoaxer, the liar extraordinaire. She did it. She got the vote through, and Adam Schiff is now officially censored by Congress. This is Anna Paulina Luna talking about why she brought the motion to the floor.
As chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff launched an all-out political campaign built on baseless distortions against a sitting U.S. president at the expense of every single citizen in this country and the honor of the House of Representatives. With access to sensitive information unavailable to most members of Congress and certainly not accessible to the American people, Schiff abused his privileges claiming to know the truth, while leaving Americans in the dark about this web of lies. Lies so severe that they altered the course of the country forever.
They cost us millions of dollars in investigations. They stole an election from us with these Russian collusion lies. Over and over again, as an elected so-called leader, Adam Schiff looked at the American people and told tall tales about President Trump and those who surround him. It was absolutely wrong. Censoring him is about the least that needed to happen to him. He needed to be put in prison, quite honestly, but it's something. And it was something done by Anna Paulina Luna, who I said is a freshman congresswoman that ran political circles around the elite in Washington. This is Adam Schiff, though, doing what I would expect any good politician to do. Hold this up as some kind of badge of honor. Watch.
To my Republican colleagues who introduced this resolution, I thank you. You honor me with your enmity. You flatter me with this falsehood. You, who are the authors of a big lie about the last election, must condemn the truth tellers, and I stand proudly before you.
So it's amazing. You can get censored and then continue to tell lies. Yeah, he wears a badge of honor. Quite frankly, this is the same line that I use when the Daily Beast goes after me or the Washington Post goes after me. I wear it as a badge of honor. It's politics 101. Adam Schiff is engaging in it. The only thing that he does differently from me, I don't lie. I tell the truth. I got the Constitution on my side, the facts on my side, and common sense on my side. He has none of those things on his side. Who he does have on his side are devious Democrats. This was their response to the vote holding Schiff accountable.
On this vote, the yeas are 213 and the nays are 209. With 6 answering present, the resolution adopted. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid on the table. House will be in order.
As they're yelling shame, I actually thought the first time I heard this, I thought it was Republicans yelling shame to Adam Schiff. But it was Democrats. I think for 5 minutes that went on. Yelling shame at Republicans. Oh, yeah, real shame. We hold somebody accountable who lies to the American people. And go figure, the Democrats think that is shameful. To show you how delusional these Democrats are, listen to this delusional Democrat. Cut 6.
Extreme MAGA Republicans are targeting Adam because he's everything they wish they could be. He's tough, he's principled, and he's effective.
That, of course, is Benny Thompson. Now, you think Adam Schiff is everything I wish I could be? No. He is literally the antithesis. He's a dork. He has bug eyes. He's got a pencil neck. He's a wuss bag, and he's a liar, and he's anti-American. What else? He's a communist. He's a socialist. I could go on and on and on with my list of things that Schiff is and that I don't want to be. Okay? Just to give you an example of how bad his lies are, we played a little of them earlier. We'll play a little more right now.
Do you have direct evidence of collusion with Russia?
Well, I think there is direct evidence. I think it's corrupt and evidence of collusion.
What
What's your
They're
evidence?
just wrong.
You've been saying that on TV for years.
Well, I will tell you, and I've also been saying, as you know, that the evidence is in plain sight, not hidden anywhere. But as I've said all along, there's plenty of evidence of collusion and corrupt commingling.
In plain sight, not hidden anywhere. Remember, just a day or two after John Durham of the Durham Report comes and spells it all out to Congress that there was no Russian collusion on behalf of the Trump team. There was no verifiable intel that should have led to any investigation while President Trump was running for office in 2016. You just saw what Adam Schiff was pushing on the American people. Really, it's despicable. And I don't think we should end with him. I think we should end with Anna Paulina Luna. She's the one responsible for getting us some justice in all of this, even if it's not enough. But it's something we haven't had before in a long time with these Republican-controlled Congresses. Anna Paulina Luna.
Well, he's going to go down in history for exactly who he is, which is someone that tore apart our country, lied to the American people, exploited and abused his position of power, and ultimately was responsible for one of the biggest fraudulent investigations into any president in the history of the United States. But you know what's interesting, Jesse, is I saw Adam several times today in the halls of Congress, and every time, you know, he looked at the floor, it's going to stick with him. I think regardless of what he's saying, I think it's weighing heavily on him.
I don't think it is. That's the only thing I disagree with Anna Paulina Luna. I don't think Adam Schiff cares. He's running for Senate. He's going to campaign on this. He's going to send out emails. He's going to raise a lot of money off of this. Why anybody would give money to Adam Schiff, I have no idea. But you watch, he'll use this to his benefit. Still, it was the right thing to do. I don't care what he does with it. I don't care. What I do care about is that we get some form of retribution to all of the lies that were perpetrated on America in an effort to destroy Donald Trump. Adam Schiff, really, and I don't say this lightly, is a despicable human being. He really is. All right, folks, let me ask you a simple question. Is your family prepared for a prolonged power outage? How about the food shortage at the grocery store? What if that happens? With Joe Biden in the White House, you never know what could happen. So if you answered no to either of those questions, are you prepared? If the answer is no, now is the time to stock up on an emergency food supply. You know what I use? My Patriot Supply. And I can get them for you at discount prices. Go to preparewithrav.com and you'll save big on each 4-week emergency food kit that you need for your family. You get breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, snacks. Keep everyone strong during times of chaos. Best of all, this food is delicious. Your whole family will love it. Act now to save big. Each 4-week kit you need. Go to preparewithrav.com and get free shipping too. What could be easier? Listen, you'll never forgive yourself if you let your family suffer. Go to preparewithrav.com. That's preparewithrav.com. All right. President Biden made another gaffe while hosting the Indian Prime Minister today, and it involved the national anthem. Go figure. That's next.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. The search for that Titanic tourist sub that disappeared over the weekend in the North Atlantic is no longer a rescue mission. Officials said it is likely out of oxygen, and it still hasn't been found. We have the live updates. California Congressman Adam Schiff was censured by House Republicans for spewing falsehoods in a Trump impeachment case. Even though censure is super rare and really bad, Schiff and his fans cheered it as his badge of honor. A catfight between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert broke out in the House over who is toughest in their call to impeach President Biden. Greene has led the calls, but her rival is elbowing her way into the headlines. And Fox's Bret Baier might be in for a tidy pay raise for his tough interview of Donald Trump. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
So, who does Joe Biden have allegiance to? America or India? Watch this. National anthem, and he realizes his hand shouldn't be over his heart, so he slowly takes it down. What a ding-dong this guy is. Then, of course, he can't make it up the stairs to Air Force One, so now, apparently, he's using the little boy stairs. Okay, watch this. Literally, a United States president is now going into the basement, the hull of Air Force One. That's because he can't apparently make it up the big stairs to the top. That's a disgrace, folks. It really is. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you. Don't forget, new podcast out, GrantStinchfield.com. That's where you can subscribe to it all. See it on Apple, Spotify, you name it, the Rumble channel. Appreciate it if you give us a subscribe. We'll see you here tomorrow night, folks. Thanks for watching.
Live from Studio 6B on a Thursday night.